story. But as I said, I'm Dana Loesch, in for Glenn Beck. I'm a CNN contributor. I'm a blogger. I work with Breitbart News. I work with, you've seen me on ABC or HBO. I got started in politics several years ago, in fact. I'm a reformed liberal who had her come to Jesus moment on 9/11. And ultimately, this whole journey brought me here. And I hope that when people hear about what my background is, that they are somehow motivated to get involved themselves, because I'm living proof that just one person can make a difference. And like I said, 2001, that's when 9/11 happened. I watched the towers fall on my television. I came from a very Southern Missouri Union Democrat background. All of my family is that way. And I realized that the ideology in which I believed it just wouldn't work in reality. This is something it's not going to work. It has repercussions. And so that's when I became a full-fledged conservative. The journey had already kind of started, but 9/11 is what had cemented it. When you think that you are completely safe within the borders of your own country and nothing is ever going to be able to come and harm you because you're the United States, right? We were living for so long off the credit of somebody else's valor. We're the United States of America. No one's ever going to harm us. Well, 9/11 proved that absolutely it can and will happen. And since that time, I wrote for a couple of daily newspapers. I did some television here and there. And right before the 2008 election, I got involved with radio. And everything just kind of went from there. I got involved with the Tea Party movement in St. Louis, actually, namely helped start the grassroots movement in St. Louis. Conservatives didn't protest. Conservatives didn't take to the street and protest. We're going to talk about Chick-fil-A later on in the hour or in the broadcast. One of the things that really just surprised me about the Chick-fil-A movement, or the Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day, and all of these people going out to these restaurants, showing up, hundreds of thousands all across the country without a single Gadsden flag, without a protest placard. It is the new American Revolution. And I mean, these people were voting with their dollars. They were protecting free speech with their dollars. And much in the same way, I stood on the steps of the Arch. This was like way back in, this was 2000 and late 2008, 2009, actually February of 2009 when this happened. And not expecting, we announced it on the radio. The grassroots movement was kind of born on my radio show in St. Louis. We announced it on the radio and stood there on the steps of the Arch thinking no one is going to show up because conservatives don't protest. We knew that people were upset. We knew that the looming threat of Obamacare was there. We saw all of this. We knew it was going to be coming down the pike, but we didn't know if it was going to be enough to actually inspire conservatives to get out to the streets and roll up their shirt sleeves and really get involved, get into the trench. And standing there on the steps, it was freezing, a bitter cold day, bitterly cold, bone-chillingly cold. In St. Louis, it can be freezing and humid at the same time. Standing on the steps of the Arch and watching as people flooded into the city, watching as people began to amass under the Arch, we ended up having nearly 2,000 people that showed up. There had never before been such a conservative demonstration like this. And it wasn't just St. Louis, it was various cities all across the country. And it was inspiring to see this happen. And that propelled me to go even further into this. Back when I started and first announced the Tea Party on my show and started working with grassroots leaders from across the country, we felt really as though the odds were against us. We didn't really think that, are people really going to show up for this? Are people going to get involved? I mean, we know we're political nerds. Are people going to get as involved in us as this? Are they going to be as passionate about this? Are we going to be able to reach the hearts and minds of the American public? And we did. And it took one person like me, many other one persons out there all across the country that made this happen. And so now here we are, nearly 4 years later, after years of protests, after petitioning, after grassroots phone banking and going door to door and getting involved in individual neighborhoods under the banner of liberty evangelism. And we have come such a long way, and we have amassed so many victories. You can't depend on mainstream media to accurately report what we have accomplished. If you compare the new conservative movement, if you compare the grassroots movement to what the left has tried to copy from the 60s, the Occupy movement, we have accomplished so much in such a short amount of time. And it shows that dedication and persistence and compassion and passion are all going to pay off. I mean, we completely secured the House of Representatives for the Republicans. Were it not for the Tea Party, there would be no Republican majority in the House. We wouldn't have enough in the Senate even to raise a fuss. Were it not for the Tea Party movement, we wouldn't have victories like we did over the establishment in Indiana. We wouldn't have people like Chris Christie in New Jersey. We definitely wouldn't have Marco Rubio in Florida. And we definitely wouldn't have Ted Cruz in Texas. These are all great. This is a grassroots uprising. And we have really racked up a lot of victories. And it's been because of people like you, because of people like me, everyone rolling up their shirt sleeves and saying, hey, where can I get involved at? What can I do? I have this particular skill set. How can I use it to help amplify the movement? How can I use it to help benefit conservatism? And that's what it's about. And that's where I come from. I met Glenn, I think it was a few years ago. The first time I met him, he came to St. Louis. He and Bill O'Reilly. It was a couple of years ago. He came with Bill O'Reilly, and they were doing their Bold Fresh tour. That was the first time I met him. That's when he had the red phone, T-shirt with the red phone. He had the red phone up on stage. No one ever called the red phone, did they? But that was the first time I met him. And, you know, he's been able to harness a lot of this grassroots energy as well with the Restoring Love that took place here in Dallas just last week. I was fortunate enough to participate in that. You're never going to see those number of people on the left actually coming in and getting involved and pitching into their communities and helping make their communities better. It's something that's a part of the new conservative movement, definitely. This is what it's all about. We're going to talk about this. We have a lot to get into. As I said, I just kind of wanted to give you a quick background on who I was. For those of you who are unfamiliar with this isn't Glenn. Who is this woman behind the microphone?